Fund, a similar program that benefits businesses affected by the regional connector in Little Tokyo and the Purple Line extension on the west side. Port employers and dock workers have been engaged in months-long labor disputes over health care and pay that reduced work at dozens of West Coast ports, including the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach. And that's our This Week in Tweets. Mayor Eric Garcetti has said that 40 to 45 ships can't get into the docks to bring our shops what they need. And that is clear in aerial photos taken by Mike Kelly, a professional photographer. At mpkelly.com tweeted a link to his blog with aerial photos he took that show cargo ships backed up, waiting in the harbor in limbo, unable to dock. He captioned one photo, "The size of these ships blows the mind. Many of them are over 1,000 feet long." U.S. Labor Secretary Thomas Perez and Mayor Garcetti were in San Francisco for talks with both sides in the hopes of helping to resolve the dispute. A slump in the Port of LA's latest cargo volume is expected as a result of the slowdown in port productivity. Here in Tinseltown, where dreams can and do come true, there is also a dark side to the pursuit of fame and fortune. Rasha Goel reports on scams targeting aspiring stars.
It's easy to get stars in your eyes when living in the home of the entertainment industry. But in making dreams come true, city officials are urging people to be cautious of talent scams.
Under the law, agents and managers are forbidden to charge any upfront fee. You can't charge an upfront management fee. You have to take a commission once somebody actually gets signed up.
The LA City Attorney alleges that a woman violated the Talent Scam Prevention Act. She collected $10,000 a month in upfront management fees from the family of an aspiring 19-year-old singer, whom she had solicited in a hair salon. Officials say often kids and families are a target. Paula Dorn of the Biz Parent Foundation describes one way parents are pressured by these scammers.
Okay, so we need $8,000 from you right now. And if the parent balks, they'll say right in front of the child, "Oh, you don't believe in them?"
Often, these talent scammers promise TV shows and movies and require you to pay them for services.
The key point, again, is, people should not be paying advance fees for any form of talent services. That's the red flag.
A red flag that all those pursuing a Hollywood dream should keep in mind.
Welcome to Hollywood. You have arrived.
I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
Officials also say to do your research. You can find more information on bizparents.org. Or if you believe you've been scammed, you can call the LA County Department of Consumer Affairs at 1-800-593-8222. The LA City Attorney's Office is warning of another type of scam, cyber scams targeting senior citizens. Gil Reyes reports on the hidden dangers of unsolicited emails.
LA City Attorney Mike Feuer gives a much-needed hug to Ellen Isaacs. Her father fell victim to an online scam.
These people find a soft spot. They find a weakness. He wanted to get back into real estate development. He's going to be 90 now.
Isaac's dad responded to an email offering free money, a $1 million sweepstakes prize. But to receive it, he had to make a series of payments to shift the money into his bank account.
So my father started paying, and to the tune of $6,000 over a period of 2 months. Some bad guys took advantage of my dad, who's an intelligent man, an electrical engineer, who worked on the space program.
If he can be duped, so can others. That message hits home for these seniors gathered at a seminar hosted by the LA City Attorney's Office.
The Senior Cyber Safety Symposium at the California Endowment in downtown LA is urging not just seniors, but everyone to be extremely critical of unsolicited emails.
Other general tips online: never give out personal information, never use obvious passwords, also report suspicious activity to the LA City Attorney's Office and other law enforcement agencies.
Our role is to provide some key education. Our role is to be sure that you can protect yourselves.
But scammers are getting sneakier. Fake emails like these, claiming to be from companies like Verizon and Google, even come with professional-looking logos and letterhead. Do not reply. Besides a possible scam, you could be inviting malware, damaging your computer.
And they've figured out a way to actually make those websites look legitimate. So we had a recently one from the IRS that actually said irs.gov. And so that's not a way we can protect ourselves anymore. We've just got to be very, very diligent
to protect ourselves and the ones we love. In downtown LA, Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
LA City voters get ready to decide on 2 ballot measures and 57 local candidates, including some new city council members. Anna Marcos gives us a preview of what you can expect at the polls.
LA's election machine has kicked into high gear as the city elections draw near. Precinct boxes are packed and election officials are pulling out all the stops, which include running a detailed demonstration on the use of the city's IncaVote Plus voting system. The LA City Votes campaign aims to make sure that some 2 million registered voters visit the polls on March 3rd.
The division has attended community events, reached out to community press, and used print ads, social media, and other outreach materials to increase voter awareness and participation.
Voters will choose new council members in the City of LA's even-numbered districts. They will also pick new LA Unified School District and Community College District board members. And they will decide the future of 2 ballot measures, which would change the dates of city elections to coincide with state and federal elections.
We invite you to explore our website and learn about the work we are doing to ensure election and voting information is accessible to all Angelenos.
Voting is now more accessible than ever, 11 times more accessible, in fact. Besides English, voting materials come in 11 other federally mandated languages, including Russian, Hindi, Spanish, and Armenian, so that come March 3rd, all registered voters, no matter what language they speak, can play a part in the democratic process. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
Runoff elections are scheduled for May 19th. First came a senior housing complex named after civil rights activist Rosa Parks. Now comes a library on the building's 3rd floor dedicated to yet another trailblazer. Gil Reyes reports from the Rosa Parks Villas in South LA.
Something new to check out at this affordable housing complex for seniors. It's a lending library with a modest collection of Anne Rice novels and self-help books for senior residents of the Rosa Parks Villas in the West Adams district. The library is named after Rosa Parks' friend, civil rights attorney Leo Branton Jr., a courtroom crusader for African Americans and their causes.
It took a little time, but we came through. It's like Leo, things will get done.
Attorney Leo Branton had actually befriended civil rights activist Rosa Parks during numerous visits to the South during the 1960s. Parks, of course, famous for not giving up her seat on the bus to a white passenger, sparking the modern civil rights movement. But Parks also was an affordable housing advocate, which is why this center is named after her.
Attorney Branton had pushed for creation of the Rosa Parks Villas. In fact, it was his wish for Rosa Parks to retire in the complex, but she died before its completion in 2010. Branton is most famous for successfully defending 60s radical Angela Davis in a murder trial. He also befriended singer Nat King Cole. They teamed with other activists to push for development near Adams and Crenshaw Boulevards. That effort pretty much stalled until the Ward AME Church helped build the Rosa Parks Villas 4 decades later.
I was just really overjoyed because we had done asset mapping in this area and knew that this community wanted additional housing for seniors. So it was an answer to prayer.
The center's library is accepting donations, especially works about African Americans who blazed a trail for future generations. At the new Leo Branton Lending Library, Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
Leo Branton Jr. passed away in 2013. Books to his library can be donated by contacting the Rosa Parks Villas at 323-737-2555. Water, it's an indispensable tool for firefighters. But here in Los Angeles, firefighters are making sure they do their part to save the state's precious water when it comes to the station's landscaping. Yana Kay reports.
These volunteers and city officials are spending their Saturday planting California-friendly plants to help beautify Los Angeles Fire Station 35 in Los Feliz.
It's great. We're going to have a new yard, and then we're going to be reflective of the community. Hopefully the community will see what we're doing here and be a cornerstone.
And with the state mandate to reduce water use by 20%, Captain Scott Suter said the fire station wanted to do its part.
We're trying to get people to put in this drought-tolerant, California-friendly type landscape, which basically uses so much less water, and it's more appropriate for our climate, for the amount of rain that we get.
The new landscaping will not only save an estimated 16,000 gallons of water per year, but it will also help offset water costs at the station.
A total of 650 square feet of landscaping is being replaced today. And with the city offering a rebate of $3 a square foot, that means this fire station will be getting a check for close to $2,000.
We have to conserve water, use water wisely.
Environmentalists say replacing grass with drought-tolerant plants helps address another water issue.
I think it's really important to provide native vegetation and to help with our stormwater runoff problem and save water. It's a great multi-benefit approach.
A small change that officials hope will help save the state's most precious resource. I'm Yana Kay for LA This Week.
Fire Station 35 is the second station in the city to replace its landscaping with water-saving vegetation. A federal judge applies the brakes on President Obama's immigration programs. Local students volunteer at homeless shelters, and the city celebrates protected land dedicated for new trails. These stories in City Beat. A federal judge's decision has stalled President Obama's executive orders aimed at protecting an estimated 4 to 5 million immigrants living in the country illegally from being deported. The federal programs designed to protect people who were brought to the country illegally as children was supposed to be expanded this month, but in an 11th hour move, U.S. District Judge Andrew Hanen of Texas put the brakes on the programs. Mayor Eric Garcetti says the president's policies allow hardworking people to enhance our neighborhoods and economies. Councilman Gil Cedillo had harsher words, saying, "Shame on you, Judge Hanen." More than 500 high school students in Los Angeles and San Diego recently volunteered at homeless shelters and food banks. LA area students volunteered at 6 different locations, including at the Union Rescue Mission on Skid Row, where they served ice cream to homeless residents and handed out donated clothing.
The look on the clients' faces brings me joy because their smiles just mean so much to me, just as much as what we do to them means a lot.
I would like to come back with my family to show them and to teach them to appreciate things that we have in our own home.
The event was organized by the after-school program Beyond the Bell. Elephant Hill preservationists celebrate dedicated land for new trails. Elephant Hill is a contested hillside in El Sereno that had been slated for development since the 1980s before the Office of Council District 14 urged the city to buy the land to preserve the hillsides. And in December, 5 of the 20 acres of open space was officially transferred by the city to the Mountain Recreation and Conservation Authority, or MRCA. The MRCA plans to build a walking trail and other improvements that will enhance the experience for hikers and residents in this otherwise urban area. A comedian gets his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And as Anna Marcos tells us, the man who brought laughs to many also dedicated his life to advancing civil rights.
Stevie Wonder was among a who's who list of stars and celebrities who came to see comedian Dick Gregory get the 2,542nd star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
A wonderful entertainer, and all of his comedy comes from the heart.
But in spite of attracting celebrities like George Lopez, Roseanne Barr, and Rob Schneider to the event, the getting of this star meant more than just Hollywood bling to a man who is also a civil rights activist, philosopher, author, and family man.
Today they are celebrating their 56th wedding anniversary.
We have 10 children. Where are you?
As a lifelong activist, Gregory took part in the historic Freedom Day voter registration drive in Selma, Alabama in 1963. Since then, he has worked on everything from immigration reform to an anti-lynching bill.
You can't be Dick Gregory's friend and not have a picket sign somewhere in your lifetime with him and also go to jail with him, and I've done both many times.
He didn't just open doors, he kicked them down and opened the era and encouraged the kind of activism that changed American society for the better.
Gregory's biggest praise went to Playboy mogul Hugh Hefner, who gave him a start as a stand-up comedian at his Chicago Playboy Club in the 50s.
There's a secret law. If you're black, you can sing, you can dance, but you can't stand flat-footed and talk. And he violated that.
Since then, Gregory has helped blaze a trail for black entertainers, and he's still going. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
Dick Gregory's Hollywood Star is located at 1650 Vine Street, just south of Hollywood Boulevard. San Pedro celebrates the groundbreaking of a new pool to be built at the site of an historic but dilapidated pool. The Hay Rookie Pool is now undergoing a multi-million-dollar renovation aimed at bringing it back to life. This million-dollar view overlooking the Port of Los Angeles can be found at the rundown and shuttered Gaffey Street Pool. The pool was built in 1943 on what was the former Fort MacArthur military base.
I swam in the pool in 1944-45. That time we did synchronized swimming for the war effort. We swam for the military in Fort MacArthur's pool.
The pool later opened to the public, and generations of children who grew up in San Pedro spent their summers in this pool. But for the past 30 years, the neglected pool located in Angels Gate Park had been closed.
You are standing on the ground that giants walked on. They beat the world, they rebuilt the world, and they gave us this wonderful treasure, and sadly it was squandered.
This was once known as the Hay Rookie Pool, used by military men who fought in our World War II efforts in the 40s. And today, as you see, it's been trashed, and we're going to bring this back to life, breaking ground here. We're going to splash in this pool that you see before me this time, actually sometime next year in June of 2016.
Graffitied over and left in disrepair, the city is now pumping millions of dollars into rehabilitating the pool at 3352 South Gaffey Street. In addition to a new pool, the facility will include a new pool house, parking area, landscaping, and pedestrian walkways.
It is time for us as a community to once again have a high-quality pool so that we can create these new memories for our kids and our grandkids.
The Port of Los Angeles, the Bureau of Engineering, and the Fort MacArthur Museum Association are also involved in the project. In this week's list of things to do, get dapper for a special bike ride that's all about style and sewing the old-fashioned way. You'll get to try it yourself at a DIY event and an exhibit featuring groundbreaking Chinese artists. The DIY movement is alive and well at the Skirball Cultural Center. On Saturday, February 28th, drop by between 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. to join local artisan group So Cranky in creating fabric wallets and water bottle bags using antique hand crank sewing machines. The whole family will enjoy learning about this traditional craft practiced by many Jewish garment makers in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. The event is part of the museum's last weekend of the month program. The Skirball Cultural Center is located at 2701 North Sepulveda Boulevard. Go to skirball.org. If you like tweed and mustaches or just looking dapper in general, you'll love the Tweed Moxie and Mustaches Ride on Sunday, March 1st, organized by Cycle, which stands for Cyclists Inciting Change Through Live Exchange. The ride through Northeast Los Angeles will go from 12:30 p.m. to 6 p.m. So dress in your finest because there will be a best dressed handed out later. The ride will end at the Verdugo Bar with entertainment, competitions, a raffle, and more. For the starting location and other information, go to cycle.org. That's C-I-C-L-E. 12 groundbreaking artists are being featured in a community gallery at the Chinese American Museum. The exhibition, entitled Ink Painting and Construction of Contemporary Chinese Art, will be on view through March 29. Experimenting with subject matter, material application, and execution, the artists introduce contemporary vocabulary such as mixed media, conceptual art, action painting, and abstraction to their work. The Chinese American Museum is located at the El Pueblo de Los Angeles Historical Monument at 425 North Los Angeles Street downtown. Go to camla.org for details. And that's a look at some upcoming things to do. The Los Angeles Zoo is welcoming a new addition to its tiger exhibit, and it appears this guy is about to cause a roar. Yana Kay reports.
Meet CJ, a 250-pound endangered Sumatran tiger who has become the latest member of the LA Zoo family.
He's full of energy, and he loves to play and swim around in his pools and have fun.
The 2-year-old came from the Sacramento Zoo and will now spend his days getting used to his new home that's filled with toys and other goodies.
It helps him to navigate his exhibit and grow up and get ready for a new female potentially coming for him to breed with.
This species of tiger comes from the Indonesian island of Sumatra, where officials say the species has seen a dramatic decline in numbers due to poaching and deforestation.
These guys are solitary animals. They live alone, they hunt alone, and they only come together for breeding, so they need large territories.
CJ, the smallest of the 6 remaining subspecies of tigers, will join a much older female Sumatran tiger. Both will be hanging out in the exhibit. I'm Yana Kay for LA This Week.
Zoo officials say there are fewer than 400 Sumatran tigers left in the world. That's going to do it for this edition. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ellen Chang. A reminder that you could catch us online at lacitywiew.org. You can also follow and like us on Facebook. Our Twitter handle is at LATW35. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.
Don't worry, Patty. This isn't going to hurt me one bit. Hi, I'm Dr. Eric Shapiro in beautiful Encino, and you're watching LA City View, Channel 35. Our city, our channel. Open wide.
upstairs. Good morning. This is Tuesday, the 24th of February, 2015. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Blumenfield, Bonner, Buscaino, Cedillo, Engler, Fuentes, Huizar, Carrasco, Correa, Bonds, Martinez, O'Farrell, Parks, Price, Wesson, 10 members present, and a quorum, Mr. President.
First order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Englander moves. Mr. Buscaino seconds. So ordered. Next item.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Mr. Price moves. Mr. O'Farrell seconds. So ordered.
Mr. President, today is Tuesday, and now would be time for the flag salute.
I'd ask us all to rise at this time. I'd like to ask Mr. Price, the councilman of the great new Ninth, to join.
Place your right hand over your hearts. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance.
We thank the children of Los Angeles this every day special. Give yourselves a big hand for that. And remember, wherever you see the flag, think of those who are serving us around the world and in this country. Next item.
Mr. President, before getting into today's agenda, there is a request from a member to continue item 10 1 week to March 3rd. And there's a request from the Building and Safety Department to continue item 1 for 3 weeks to March 17.
Okay, so that's all right. Is that objection? Do I need to vote on those, Mr. Clerk?
No, sir, without objection.
All right, so ordered.
Very good, sir. That brings us to items 2 through 6. They're items for which public hearings have been held.
Let's take item number 2 first. I know, public would help, but we could have it before us. There's no speakers on that. Alan, fix this because I don't see what you see. This thing, who knows how to move this thing? You know how to move this down?
Oh, change the view?
Yeah. Okay. All right, so let's do that, Alan. That's good. Thank you very much, Alan. Very good. Mr. Clerk, I apologize. So let me do it again. On item 1, we're continuing, correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
All right, then what's next?
2 through 6, they're items for which public hearings have been held.
All right, do anyone have any specials 2 through 6? I have 3 specials, so add that special for a note. Anything else? So with the balance, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Next items.
Very good, sir. That brings us to items 7 through 11. They're items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
For the consideration, open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
12 ayes. Thank you. So we'll hold those for the consideration. What next, Alan?
Yes, sir, 7 through 11.
Let's go 7. We have a card here, Mr. Walsh.
And Mr. President, we do have cards on all items, but item 7 is now before you if you wish.
Yeah, Mr. Walsh. Thank you, Mr. Walsh. I hope they don't say something bad. Hey, Mr. City Attorney, what if he says something bad about in front of the children?
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. Considering the audience, my website is labeled PG, Parental Guidance. Number 7 concerns the correction of zone and land use designations. What this means is the rich people in this neighborhood want to change the zoning to keep blacks and Hispanics out of their white neighborhoods. I just want those kids to know that. And of course, everybody up here is going to vote for it because if you live west of La Brea, you're probably white, and you give these people money, and they do anything they want. Now, if I said this in Mexico, they'd shoot me dead. But here in America, I can say that. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Eric Previn,
Yes, good morning, Council President Pro Tem Mr. Labange, and to the City Council. I am Eric Previn, a resident from Studio City and also a candidate in the CD2 election. And this item, as the previous speaker points out, is a designation change in the zoning from open space, which is something we're familiar with, in the Beverly Glen area, to low residential, very low to residential, which does mean it's an 11-point-something acre piece of property in a very nice area in Mr. Koretz's district. So I think that this means that we're going to be getting some development going, which is really perhaps good for some. And I know that the applicant in this case, which I looked closely at, is the City of Los Angeles. So clearly the city is going to be facilitating this particular mission. And I was just wondering if we could disclose who the developers are who are also going to benefit from this. That would be a great bit of information. And I would just like to look at this in the context of the various canyons like Beverly Glen, that run across our beautiful Santa Monica Mountains. You have Coldwater. Now, in this canyon, we have a very similar kind of application being provided by a big private group called Harvard Westlake, and it's going to be coming before land use, and it will look very much like this if land use agrees to change the zoning. And now I know that many people in our neighborhood in CD2 are worried about that, and so I would ask this council
he is not
to step
talking about this
forward.
item.
You're not talking on the issue.
Well, I'm talking about zoning changes from open space to residential or to something else. And it worries me because we have a limited amount of Santa Monica Mountains left, as we all know. And so I'm urging our leadership to hold the line. This may be a good one because it's right on a boulevard, and maybe the folks in the neighborhood have agreed to this one, but there are other ones that we have to watch very carefully. And I ask you for your support in looking closely and stepping up for the residents. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. If you have any questions, there's Charlie Rouse, who's a great planner for the city at that last column. You can approach him. No clapping, please. Thank you. Mr. Herman is the next card. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, I can't beat the charge of the first speaker, Mr. Walsh, because obviously he was definitely right on the subject. This is an issue about racism. It's an issue about taking sides on a zoning. And I'm going to read it right off the ignorance of this paper here, that it says, findings for the Los Angeles City Planning Commission and the Director of Planning, who did not submit for the record the reports and accuracy, efficiencies, and so forth. So I'm going to hold my time within the 1 minute and say vote for Eric Previn. Thank you.
He is not talking.
Okay, no speakers on the queue. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Thank you. Next item.
Mr. President, that brings us to item 8 called Special for Cards.
Mr. Brown. Is there a Mr. Brown here?
So, Mr. City Attorney, keep me on topic and focus, please. Because, again, the Brown Act is usually your violation of my rights for freedom of expression and freedom of speech, sir. As all you will learn one day in your lives with.
He is not talking about the item.
Speak to the issue.
As I move forward in our agenda under rent control, a majority of all of you and all of you rent.
Speak to the council, sir. Sir, speak to the council.
So the provisions of the city is to allow us to live in a clean environment.
Mr. President, he should direct his comments to the council.
Sir, if you don't speak to the council, I'm going to take your time away.
Sir,
Keep
you know what?
speaking to the council.
Mr. Speaker, I am speaking at you, against you, and I'm in opposition when you do not tell the truth to the children that you guys, under rape and reap, take advantage of the renters. Thank you.
Mr. Walsh.
John Walsh at HollywoodHighlands.org. This is very important if your parents are renters. The important thing here is if there's a violation, if they're not collecting the garbage, if they're not painting the apartment that you live in every certain number of years, you make a complaint to the city. The city will do a very good job here. What the city will do is go to your landlord and tell your landlord you have a certain number of days to clean up the apartment. and if something's broken in the apartment. If the landlord doesn't do that, then the city says you don't pay the rent anymore, the renters, to the landlord. You pay it to the city until a corrupt white landlord cleans things up. And this is a very good, other cities don't have this, Glendale, the big white cities. But this is a very, very important thing. And look at all these people. 100% in favor of REAP, HollywoodHighlands.org.
All right, stand by, Mr. Walsh. You're next on the next item. No speakers on the queue. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Next item, Mr. Clerk.
That brings us to item 9, called Special for
Mr.
Cards.
Walsh.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org, 25 years LAUSD teacher. This is very important. These are zone changes. Now, if you live in an area, usually they're all houses, private houses, apartments. But greedy property owners want to get rid of you, especially if you're black or brown. So they get a zone change. What does a zone change mean? I just want everyone here to think, if suddenly they tore down half your block and put up a nightclub with gangsters shooting drugs, and that is what goes on here. Every time they zone change, now they can't do it now, but they get a zone change from these corrupt politicians up here. And you can see in your neighborhoods where it used to be homes, it's now gangsters and drug addicts and, of course, alcohol. And hit-and-run drivers. We have more alcohol than any other city. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Thank you very much. No other speakers on the queue. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
This time, a very special presentation from the great councilman of the 1st District with some very special individuals who have great heritage and history. I call on the great Councilmember Gil Cedillo for presentation.
You want me to join you now?
Please. Mr. President and colleagues, thank you so much. Let's get to some really exciting news and rejoin with reality here. This week is National Engineers Week. Yeah. We call it Geek Week in our office. It's a week founded in 1951 by the National Society of Professional Engineers. Speaking of geeks, come on up here, Commissioner. And it was founded to celebrate the many contributions engineers make to our everyday life. And people don't think about it, but engineers are involved in every aspect of our daily life. I'm joined here today by Public Works Committee members, council members. Mr. Buscaino, please join us. And Curran Price, please join us. Mr. Price, the new ninth. Commissioner Kevin James, the Bureau of Engineers, members of the American Society of Civil Engineers, and special guests today. And please stand, all of you. You're behaving very well. 250 elementary school students.
All right.
Levántese. Levántese.
Stand up, everybody. They are standing. They are standing. Oh, yeah, there you go.
Stand up. There you go. Look at that. Future Geeks of America United.
Now, what schools? What schools do we know?
What schools? Schools from all throughout.
Throughout. That's a good job.
They're not in high school yet. The theme of our week is Let's Make a Difference. And I think by bringing these young men and women into City Hall and into this environment that we are making a difference. Engineers make a difference in our life every day, and they're responsible in leading the transformation of Los Angeles to the future. One of our main goals this week is to outreach to K through 12 and college students by introducing them to the fields of government and engineering who are promoting STEM in our communities. This is really a way for us to directly link the classroom with the workplace and give them an opportunity to understand that math matters and that when they're engaged in science, technology, engineering, and math, that there's a future for them. Engineering Week allows us to take one step further and give these students a world-class experience. And I want to thank the entire city family for working with us and the American Society of Civil Engineers for helping us coordinate this successful event. We have an incredible brochure here that talks about Engineers Week that will be available to everyone. I know it's going like pancakes. And now, with great gratitude, Gary. Where are you, Gary?
I'm right here. He is.
Oh, yeah, Gary. All the way from the port. Happy to have him back.
Got him back.
We got him back. We can't take him. Now, with great gratitude, I present to our city engineer official proclamation from the city applauding you and the Bureau for the great work you do for the city of Los Angeles.
Right.
People do not appreciate what you do each and every day to make this city work. And the things that are important to this city, the coordination, the calibration, just the function of this city does not and cannot happen without your Bureau. And so we're here to acknowledge you and thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
Gordy. Gary, you want to say a few words and then I'll invite up my colleagues?
Sure.
Or you want to save you best for last?
I would prefer the council members to go
Mr.
first.
Buscaino,
Okay.
please join us. And Mr. Price. Next.
Thank you. Thank you. I was here for Councilmember Cedillo for kicking off Engineers Week here at City Hall in the city of Los Angeles. Thank you, Gilbert, for leading the effort here. And as Chair of Public Works, colleagues, for the past 3 years, I've developed a great appreciation and great respect for engineers and the work that they do each and every day. Simply put, cities would not be possible without engineers. Engineers design the basic underlying facilities that we rely on to conduct our daily business, raise our families, and pursue our dreams. The roadway network that allows you to drive to work and to and from the grocery store, the underground pipes that bring fresh water to your kitchen and take wastewater away from your bathroom, the hydroelectric dam that generates electricity, reservoirs and pumps that provide drinkable water, and sewage treatment plants that treat wastewater. Our economy depends on infrastructure to provide power for factories, to transport goods and services, and telecom cables to transmit information to banks and customers. Our health depends on having clean, potable water to drink and underground pipes to take human and industrial waste away to be treated and safely disposed. Our safety depends on infrastructure to withstand storms and natural events, keeping our homes safe from flooding and other damage. Our cities, like Los Angeles' age, is even more important than ever that we train the next generation of engineers that will repair, expand, and improve our vital civil infrastructure. You will soon hear from Karen from Gulf Avenue, who is our future engineer. STEM education must be elevated as a national priority. I'd like to add the A to it as far as arts, making it STEAM education. Our nation's future economic prosperity is closely linked with student success in the STEAM fields. The United States must expand the capacity and diversity of the STEAM workforce pipeline, which is why events like the STEAM Carnival in my district, that was held in my district this past October at our down at the Port of Los Angeles, and Engineers Week are so important. Mr. Cedillo, can I quickly invite Karen to say a few words? She has a speech prepared. This is Karen, ladies and gentlemen, from Gulf Avenue in Wilmington, California. All right, sweetie. Go ahead.
Hello, good morning. My name is Karen Sierra, and I am a proud student of Gulf Avenue Elementary School in Wilmington. I especially want to thank our councilman, Joe Buscaino, and Mayor Garcetti for this honor. I think that it is important that girls become involved in STEAM early because there aren't many women in engineering. Boys and girls can be both engineers. We just need training support from our schools and in family and in opportunity. School is more than words and letters. Learning should be fun and meaningful. I attend a school that places a focus on teaching in a meaningful way. My teacher and my principal believe in all of us and know we can do anything we set our minds to. I want to be a lawyer. However, I will use the skills I learned in STEM to think critically and differently about problems I might face in life. Thank you very much.
All right, Karen. So We are celebrating boys and girls across the city of Los Angeles like Karen to share her story and her future. And Karen, you can be whatever you want to be. Follow your dreams. We love you and we're so proud of you. Thank you, Mr. Cedillo, for kicking off Engineers Week in the city of Los Angeles.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karen and Joe. Good job.
Thank you. Let's give it up for all the students that are here today. A special shout out to Wadsworth and to Harmony Elementary Schools in the 9th District. As we've learned already, every aspect of the city has been touched by an engineer, from the sidewalks to the streets to bridges, storm management, electricity. It's a never-ending list. We all need engineers every day, though we might not always recognize the importance of this field. Engineering is a growth industry. It's a growth industry with a declining number of students choosing to study engineering. Engineering Week is about changing that statistic. I want the kids to know that these are well-paying jobs, important jobs, in a field where you will always find work. I want to commend my fellow public work members, the Chair Busquiano, Councilmember Cedillo, for their leadership and for showing these young people the way. And we especially want to thank the American Society of Civil Engineers for their support and participation. To the kids, have fun with the egg drop, and may the odds be ever in your favor.
Commissioner Kevin James.
Good morning, everyone. The American Society of Civil Engineers' main goal for outreach in K through 12 is to expose students at all levels to science, technology, engineering, arts, and math through inquiry, learning, and engineering design principles. This full week of outreach events in cooperation with the Los Angeles Department of Public Works, Council Districts 1, 9, and 15 takes engineers' efforts one step further and gives students a world-class experience by engaging them with government officials and engineering leaders in the heart of their city, this great city of Los Angeles. Engineers have long been important to society because they build the infrastructure, the tools and technology that provide improvements to living conditions and allow economies to grow. In recent decades, engineers have become vitally important to the environment as well, advancing sustainable design practices which have improved upon the tradition of building things better and more efficiently by doing so with minimal impact upon the environment, or better yet, improving the environment. It is very fitting that Engineers Week is held on the week of President Washington's birthday. President Washington is said to be the first engineer because of the great deal of survey and mapping work that he did. It is fitting because engineers build the infrastructure that is the literal foundation of this country. So congratulations, everyone, and welcome to all the students.
See?
Yeah, but I can go ahead and do that.
Okay. You want me to bring him up?
That's okay.
No?
Yeah, I'll just.
Yes. Well, I want to bring it last.
Okay. I don't know. Sabrina?
Sabrina Rivera?
Yes.
Hi.
There you go.
Nice to see you again.
Good to see you.
So thank you. Thank you for having us all here today. Hello, my name is Sabrina Rivera, and I'm Vice President of Los Angeles Younger Member Forum of ASCE, which is co-sponsoring this event today, and I'm also the 2015 Engineers Week Chair. I just want to say that we really appreciate your support of this Engineers Week 2015 celebration, especially Councilmember Cedillo and Council Districts 9 and 15. The students here today and that are coming the rest of this week are the future leaders of Los Angeles. Exposing them to engineering and government early on will hopefully inspire their future careers and success. We are also hosting a special day for high school girls on Thursday to expose them to very strong, positive female role models within engineering and government. I'm really looking forward to that day. So we, as the American Society of Civil Engineers, are the civil engineers of Los Angeles. We are here to educate and support the future generations of engineers, as well as our elected officials. As the need for infrastructure investment increases in the near future, I just want you to recognize that we are here to support you. We are here to take the city of Los Angeles to the next step and ensure that this is a great city for the next generation of constituents. Thank you so much.
All right. Isabella Catitla from Harmony. Isabella, Harmony.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Isabella Caltitla, and I come from Harmony Elementary School. I just wanted to thank everyone for this amazing opportunity to be here. No one really appreciates the council and the engineers very often for how hard they work to make this city better. But I want to thank you because I know that you work very hard. So thank you. And have a nice day.
Boy, wow.
For all you novices in public speaking, notice no notes. She had no notes. That was straight from the heart. That was incredible. Who's next? Nobody wants to follow her. But Sylvia Marcus from Charles White Elementary School will. Come on, Sylvia.
Hi, my name is Sylvia Marquez. I'm from Charles White Elementary School. I'm very thankful to be here, and thank you for inviting us here. And you've worked very hard here, and thank you for the laws that you've done for you and me. Thank you.
Charles White, right off of Wilshire, right? Is that right, Tom?
Right.
Right there behind the old Otis, or part of the old Otis, right?
Right, at the backside.
I've got BOS Assistant Director Vayush Apkian. Where is he? Brother, how are you? Good to see you.
Good morning, Honorable President, Council members. My name is Varuj Apkian, Assistant Director with the Bureau of Sanitation. First of all, foremost, I wanted to thank Council Members Cedillo, Price, and Buscaino for having the leadership on creating this outreach to our future generation. The profession that I've been in for 35 years, and seeing all these young students with wearing a beautiful badge of being an engineer for one day. It is admirable, and thank you so much. And my word to all our future generation is that engineering is a fantastic field. Working in there, being a professor for so many years, and above all, City of LA is a fantastic employer. I hope you're going to become an engineer, maybe an environmental engineer, which is my field, and be a City of LA employee. Thank you so much.
All right. And before we wrap up, the engineer's engineer, let's hear from City Engineer Gary Leemore. Thank you.
All right. Good morning, council members. I also want to thank Councilman Cedillo, Councilman Buscaino, and Councilman Price for this recognition. It is truly an honorable profession, and you make it that way. And we are so proud to be here today. And, the folks from the Bureau of Engineering, some of us, please stand and be recognized here. You know, I can tell all the residents of Los Angeles that today is going to be the best day that I ever do for you as city engineer, because when I came into council today, 250 people, when I looked at my badge and I see city engineer, there's 250 children that have city engineer. So I am really going to cover the entire city today. So I'm very blessed. We are just so proud to be part of the team that builds the infrastructure for Los Angeles, and we feel so honored to do that. And I especially want to say to the three girls that spoke this morning that we want them. We hope that they come to the Bureau of Engineering. We want them to be city engineer for real one day. And I also want to acknowledge our Chief Deputy City Engineer, Deborah Weintraub. She is a woman.
She's a great one. Get her up there, Deborah.
She squeezed in as an architect, but she loves engineers. Thank you so much, and enjoy the day.
Hold on, Mr. Gary Leemore. Get Deborah next to you with Mr. Cedillo and the council members, and get the children in front so Sherry can get a great picture. That's it. And Kevin, jump up there. You're not shy.
Oh, here we go.
Where's our city full time?
And as you do, my colleague, our colleague, Mr. Kokorian, wants to say a few words before you finally wrap up. Mr. Kokorian.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And I think it's so appropriate that we have all of these young people here to celebrate Engineers Week with us today. And I just want to speak to them for a moment, because we've talked about how engineering is a great profession, a great job to have, but all of you kids need to realize that when you woke up this morning and you brushed your teeth, the clean water that you brushed your teeth with came from hundreds of miles away because of civil engineers. When you drove here to City Hall today, you were on safe roads and you drove over bridges, all of which were designed and built by civil engineers to keep you safe and to get you here. And then you arrived at this building which is such a magnificent monument to the people's democracy. This building that has stood here for 87 years, a building that was 4 times bigger than any other building in Los Angeles when it was built. A building that stands because civil engineers 90 years ago made it happen. And so when you think about that, realize that those people who built those things are no different than any of you. And the vision that you have and the dreams that you have of things that you want to build, those could become things that people 100 years from now will be enjoying as well. That's within your power to do if you pursue this. So I hope that you all dream big and make those dreams a reality. And Karen, I'm a lawyer too, and we need good lawyers too. So.
All right, Mr. Gregorian. Mr. Koretz of the 5th District.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to say briefly to all the kids out there, I hope that a lot of you become engineers, but I want 1 or 2 of you to think about also doing what we do. I remember 50 years ago, I first came to these chambers with my classes, and I thought, this is a really interesting thing. This would be a fascinating profession. And many years later, here I am. So let this be also the first opportunity for you to think about going into politics and government as well. Hopefully some of our future leaders are right here in this room.
Absolutely. Good statement, Mr. Koretz. And I know I wanted to be a trash man. I really did as a child. Because the city had the nicest trash bin, and they always let me throw in the back of the truck. And it was good. And that's how I started my first job with the city, and I worked my way up. Thank you. But Mr. Cedillo, your excellent presentation. Mr. Buscaino, Mr. Price, and all the engineers. Stand up, engineers, again, and children. Let's give them right there. Thank you, Mr. Cedillo. Thank you.
Let me finish by embracing all the comments of my colleagues, but also let me give you a schedule of the week. We have an egg drop contest and career fair today. Tomorrow we'll have a sustainable street design competition. Thursday we have women in engineering. We're going to have a full day of activities for 100 high school girls and a special lunch in the Tom Bradley Tower. And then Thursday night we're going to have a professionals night reception with more than 300 engineers from the public and private sector, and they'll be gathering to celebrate their contributions to this great city. And then finally on Friday, College Day with more than 150 college students participating in the program. It's going to be a great week. We call it Geek Week. It's going to be a great week for engineers and for the city, and we welcome and invite everyone in this great city. Thank you so much, Mr. President. Thank you, my friends.
Thank you, Mr. Cedillo. Thank you all. Let's give him a big hand. And I have another presentation coming right there, so we'll clear the podium. Thank you, Sergeants. Yeah, Mr. Bonin.
Before the next presentation, I'd like to make an introduction, if I could.
Yes.
Colleagues, we're joined today in the back of the chambers by a legislative colleague, but a newcomer to Los Angeles, Mr. John Switalski, in the back. John, raise your hand. John recently moved to Los Angeles after serving 6 years in the Michigan legislature. He was just termed out, had an incredible track record as a tough progressive who stood up for working people, for fiscal reforms, and I'm particularly proud to have him here in Los Angeles because he's the author of legislation in Lansing that created a complete streets policy which created more walkable and bikeable and safe neighborhoods for everybody, something I'm a huge advocate of. So I'd like to welcome you to Los Angeles, John.
Thank you very much, John. Thank you, Mr. Bonin. Now it's my pleasure to introduce the great president of the City Council, council member of the 10th District, Mr. Herb Wesson.
Thank you. Thank you so very much, Mr. President. I'll let things quiet just a tad before I start because this is a very, very important presentation that we have today. We're celebrating World Spay Day. This has been in effect for over 10 years, and it happens every February. And it's an acknowledgement to all of the people and the organizations that recognize the important gift that we received from our four-legged friends, our dogs, and our cats. And they work tirelessly to try to save as many of these companion animals as they can. So first, I would like for you to just, for World Spay Day, can we give them a round of applause? It wasn't that long ago that I received a telephone call from an organization called the Found Animals Foundation. And they said to me, we want to honor you for your contributions to finding animals homes and just being a downright good animal person. So I was honored, and we went to this lovely hotel, trendy, niche hotel in West Hollywood. It was a bunch of folk there, and the organization was founded by a great doctor named Dr. Michelson, and I'll say a bit about him later. But I'm at this event joined by two of my dear friends and colleagues, Mr. Koretz and Mr. O'Farrell, and I said to Dr. Michelson, well, how much money are you going to raise tonight? How much are you charging tonight? What are you going to get? And he said, charge? Raise? He paid for it with his own funds. And the Found Animals, because what they wanted to do, the emphasis to them was to honor individuals who were committed to their charge to make lives better for our companion animals. And I was just totally blown away by that. Dr. Michelson and his wife, Alia, they're not with us today, but if you were to see Dr. Michelson, he's like 6'4", big, strong-looking guy. You just couldn't tell that animals would mean that much to him. But he shared with me during a very difficult time of his life, the one thing that he could count on, the one thing, the one life form that kept him grounded, the one thing that kept him focused, the one thing that gave him unconditional love growing up during a very hectic time was his companion animal named Bull. In fact, Ed, where are you? I just want to show everybody the award that I received. Let me get a close-up. Can I get a close-up, Mr. DeMille? We're ready for our close-up. This award, which I cherish, It's kind of what Bull actually looked like. It's what Dr. Michelson designed. And if you were to see and meet Dr. Michelson today, he could show you of a picture of Bull who has long ago met his maker. He is a trained surgeon, spinal surgery. He could be doing anything that he wanted to do. But he has founded this organization, and what it does is it gives contributions of over $1 million to organizations not only in this city, but throughout this great nation. Good organizations that go out and do a lot of things that people wish they could do, but for whatever reason cannot find the time to do. Our animals and our dogs and our cats, they need our love and protection just like so many people need our love and affection and our help. Today, I do want to focus on an organization called Spay for LA. And when you leave this great city hall, look a little bit on Main Street, and you'll see this colorful bus. Looks like a food truck, but it's not. It is a mobile spay and neuter facility. The second one that this organization is going to have out in the field doing a significant job in South Central LA, spaying, neutering dogs where individuals cannot afford it. Let's give Spay for LA a round of applause. We have other groups that I'd like to acknowledge. Coalition for Pets and Public Safety. Give them a round of applause. They're engaged in helping us. We want to acknowledge Spay Neuter Project of LA, Stray Cat Alliance, Fix Nation, ASPCA. Since I've been here, I was reminded by found animals that I have found homes. And this is one thing that I'm going to take total credit for. And those of you know me know I'd never take credit. I always share it. But I, with Animal Services, have found homes for over 125 companion animals since I have been elected to this council, and I am damn proud of that. And I think that it's important that we recognize those who rarely receive the recognition that they deserve. That a man would reach and his wife would reach into their own pockets and pay to help us in this quest, this calling, this way of life. With that said, a lady that kind of ushered me around and took very good care of me when I was being honored. What was the name of that hotel? Let's give it credit. Where were we?
On Sunset.
On, it's called what? The Andaz? The Andaz. We were at the Andaz, and it was a phenomenal place. I met new friends. Our own Brenda was there, Barnett. It was just a great crowd. But the power behind this organization, the coordinator, the executive director, a person that makes things happen, Amy Gilbright. Let's give her a round of applause, and I want to give you the microphone.
Thank you. Dr. Michelson sends his regards. Thank you to all of you for having us here today. You've got kids and pets, so that's going to be a tough act to follow with your business. As Council President Wesson mentioned, we're here today to honor these groups who provide affordable and accessible spay and neuter services to the pets and the people of Los Angeles. They do fantastic work, and it's really difficult, and I can guarantee you that they're not in it for the glamour or for the money. They're in it because they know how important pets are in the lives of people, and they want to make sure that that's a healthy relationship. So, as the Council President mentioned, Spay for LA is launching a second mobile unit. Found Animals is very proud to be an anchor sponsor along with Best Friends and the Coalition for Pets and Public Safety, but it's really important to mention that the Department of Animal Services and the Animal Services Commission in Los Angeles are incredibly supportive of subsidized spay and neuter. The reason that Spay for LA is able to launch the second unit is because the city has given them a contract to provide and to pay for free spay and neuter to city residents in South Los Angeles. So your city department deserves just as much credit as the organizations here, and we really hope, yes, thank you to Brenda and to Commissioner Gross who are here today. And we really hope that all of you will come out and tour the mobile unit. It is parked on Main Street. It will be there until about 2 p.m. You can see it before it's even gone out on the road. It smells new right now. That won't last. And we also have some dog and cat clients. So if you need a little hair on your clothing, we can take care of that too. But thank you very much for recognizing the hard work that all of these organizations do for pets and people in Los Angeles.
Thank you. From the Coalition for Pets and Public Safety and also a board member of Spay for LA, Erica Brunson. Erica, are you? Well, let's get Brenda Barnett to come up from our Animal Services and say a word. Right behind me.
Good morning. I also want to recognize Bill Crow from the Pet Care Foundation, who's here, Lucy Pet Foundation, and Commissioner Larry Gross, so that we complete the list. You know, LA is a very progressive city.
Larry?
Yeah, right behind you.
Thank you for passing a spay-neuter ordinance. Thank you for supporting spay-neuter. $7 out of every $20 dog license goes back into a spay-neuter trust fund that's used for nothing but sterilizing pets. A city resident can get a $30 voucher for up to 3 dogs and 3 cats. A low-income community member can get a $70 voucher to cover the complete cost for 3 dogs and 3 cats. And this is because this is a very progressive city and council, so we're very pleased to partner with all the different groups in the city who will accept our vouchers and who will do spay-neuter, like Spay for LA. And if you've never toured a spay-neuter van, you won't believe it. Go outside and walk through. It's fun. Thank you.
Now, thank you very much. And Amy, I'd like for you to do me a favor. I'd like to present this acknowledgement to Dr. Michelson, who I was very, very personally impressed with, and I look forward to working with in the future. And this just recognizes World Spay Day and the contributions of found animals. And the last thing that I want to say, all of the good work that these found animals has done, we owe a big debt of gratitude to Bull. We really, really do, because that's not only changed Dr. Michelson, but it gave him an unbelievable love for animals. And I think because of Bull, that's why Dr. Michelson is receiving this award today. And anytime you meet a guy that pulls out a photo of a dog that he had years ago, I think that's truly unconditional love. So, ladies and gentlemen, please, one more round of applause, and thank all of you so very much.
Mr. President, don't move. Get that picture. But Mr. Koretz has a few words, and Mr. O'Farrell.
Hey, thank you, Mr. President. And thank you for recognizing such important work on this Spay Day. 20 years of working to spay and neuter dogs and cats has been absolutely critical in getting down the numbers of euthanasia. But sadly, we still have a long way to go. So we should be thinking about this in every budget year. How can we put more money towards spay and neuter? How can we work with more organizations? Because ultimately, if we want to be a no-kill city, we can do a little more in the way of adoption, but what we really have to do is step up to the plate and spay and neuter every animal we can get a hold of until we solve this problem. And I thank all of you for the great work you do in this arena.
Thank you. Mr. O'Farrell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to thank Council President Herb Wesson for his leadership on this. And really, those in the rescue community, many standing here and many who will be watching later on television, are all over the city. There are good people across the city of Los Angeles doing good things, saving animals' lives every day with little or no resources. And the fact that you all are here representing and what you do day in and day out, I call it God's work. You're truly doing God's work. And just to kind of echo on what Paul just mentioned, you know, across the country there are 6 to 8 million animals that are taken into shelters every year. Half of them do not make it out. Half. That's 3 to 4 million across the country. And I want to commend Brenda Barnett for lowering our euthanasia rate in Los Angeles significantly since she's been general manager, but it's still too many. It's in the 15, 16, 17,000 range a year. Imagine your dog or cat not having a chance and having, you know, to end his or her life in that way. I don't want to bring this down because this is a great celebration to bring awareness to spay-neuter, but spay-neuter is the way. And I want everyone who hears this to know that if you have an unaltered cat, bunny, dog, it doesn't matter what it is, get it fixed because that will end up saving lives, and that's what it's all about. And lastly, I just want to say that caring for animals makes us all humane. Let's not forget that. It makes us better legislators. It makes us better community members. It makes us better human beings. So thank you so much for all you're doing, and God bless.
Thank you, Mr. O'Farrell. Mr. Wesson, thank you. Thank you.
Adopt a dog, save a life.
Right.
And a cat and a bunny.
All right, Mr. Clerk, you heard the orders of the President. Let's go back to council. What is the item number 10?
Mr. President, item 10 has been continued. Item 11 is still on the board.
Item 10 has been continued, and I will note those cards to you, Mr. Clerk. Thank you. Yes. Item 11, we have Mr. Walsh for item 11, followed by Dr. Brown, followed by Donna Perriman, Mr. Forsher.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. This is a motion. This concerns something, the children aren't here. I guess you thought, you brought me up in front of the children, you thought I'd curse, and then you could, but I didn't, did I? 25 years an LAUSD teacher. This concerns street vacation. If anyone if you don't understand what this means, is you make a big contribution to a city councilman, because they're not going to listen to you otherwise, and then you ask for a portion of the street. Vacation is the street means it isn't owned by the city anymore. It's being given to somebody for free. Westerly side of Benedict Canyon, where all you rich white people live. Don't try to get a piece of your street if you live south of Pico. Initiate street vacation, direct the engineers to investigate the feasibility, and for a portion of the westerly side of Benedict Canyon Drive. It doesn't tell you why. You have to go into the big file to find out why. It's about corruption. That's what it's about. And the street vacations are always on the Benedict Canyon Drive, 500 to 670 feet north of Cielo Drive, where all the rich, and I mean very rich, white racists live.
If the CLA could come to my desk here, please. The next speaker, Dr. Brown.
Thank you, Professor John Walsh, HollywoodHighland.org. But the issue of the concern that I wish to address with the City of Los Angeles, respectively, Mr. Speaker, has to do with Mr. Busquiano and Mr. Koretz initiating a street vacate proceeding at Benedict Canyon Drive for approximately 607 feet. I'm just reading right off the agenda, Dion. Make sure that I'm on topic for you, since you like to violate my Charlie Brown acts. But going back on topic, thank you, Mr. Lawyer Krikorian, because directing the Bureau of Engineering to present its report regarding the feasibility, and there's no price. Krikorian, and you're a budget man, a so-called figure man.
Is to direct his comments to the council.
Feasibly for vacating the requested area to the Public Works Gang Reduction Committee. Dion, am I reading it from the agenda, sir? So the city clerk has scheduled this request upon city council for consideration, and I am bringing it before you Angelinos in Los Angeles, before Krikorian, because his name, I'm sorry, it's Koretz, sorry. I get so confused and disorientated here because I get disrupted so many times by...
I
so
understand
the point
that, Mr. Krikorian.
in closing my argument with you is this.
Mr. President,
That
he
if
is
you
not
do
talking about this item.
have a dollar amount for what is feasibly acceptable.
You completed your comments. Thank you. Next speaker will be Donna Pearman. Donna Pearman. Sergeants, escort the gentleman to the seats. Donna Pearman.
I'll make it real quick. I just say that I agree with everything that John Walsh says. It seems to me it's just a ploy to go over for the rich people. And the other thing I'm worried about is I don't know if it's going to bother traffic where they're going. So probably not a very good item. Okay, thank you.
Donna.
And Miriam waves.
Miriam will wave. Mr. Sergeant, explain to this disruptor. Thank you. Miriam Folger.
Actually, it's pretty good. And I don't like giving stuff away to the rich. This is really pathetic. And what John Walsh says goes. And that's very good what he said. Thank you.
That it completes the cards on that. Completes the cards. Let's open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
14 ayes. What's left?
Mr. President, that brings us to item number 3.
Item number 3. Let's call item number 3 and have the department explain what's going on. Thank you.
For me here.
All right, Mr. Engler, I'd ask you to sit in the chair here. Been informed by the planning director of the 4th District. Council, what's before us right now?
I'll let Ms. Ibarra state that because she did most of the case.
Thank you.
The City Planning Commission at its meeting of
November 13th, approved a mixed-use project involving property at 6649 Santa Monica, 1120 Las Palmas, and the 6600 block of Lexington Avenue for 695 residential units, including 5% for very low income set aside in exchange for a 12% density bonus. The project included a general plan amendment and vesting zone change and conditional use for on-site alcohol. At the meeting of the Plum Committee meeting of February 3rd, there was a modification to the parking condition relative to the allowing of additional parking in the event that the applicant should choose to do residential condos in lieu of apartments. And that was approved in here before you today.
Thank you very much. I want to thank the Planning Department. For those of you who don't know, but you get around the city, this is off Santa Monica Boulevard where the old Union Ice House was, and the lumber yard out on Santa Monica Boulevard in the heart of Hollywood where they do need housing. I'm satisfied with the response, and I move to approve this zone change, height district change, and the general plan forthwith. So if you're all okay, I'm okay. And Charlie, did I touch all the bases as a planner, articulating?
You got them all.
Thank you very much. And
Great.
we thank the cards that came in, but that was satisfied within the element of the committee hearing.
Great. Thank you, Mr.
Call for the
LaBonge.
vote.
Thank you very much. Okay. Seeing no speakers on the queue, please open the roll. Close the roll. And tabulate the vote.
Thank you.
14 ayes.
Great.
This
Thank
was
you very much.
heard in council's committee. It satisfied the effort at that point.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Clarification was made.
And Mr. President, for clarification, that item was sent forthwith.
Forthwith, without objection, that'll be the order. Thank you very much. And where does that take us?
Mr. President, that takes council to general public comment for items not on today's agenda.
Okay, great. Thank you. So, general public comment. Mr. Walsh?
John Walsh at HollywoodHighlands.org. No on City Charter Amendments 1 and 2. No on City Charter Amendments 1 and 2. What do? They cancel Election Day to increase voting. That's like George Orwell. Slavery is freedom. You do not cancel election days. And this is what I've said. I want to see, because of voter fatigue, I challenge, is there one black person in America who will get up and say they suffer from voting fatigue? They suffered from the Revolutionary War. They suffered from Civil War. And now we got corrupt Mexican politicians coming in here to take your black vote away from you. And as far as you white people are concerned, who's behind this? Behind this is the outdoor advertising industry. They're going to sneak a vote through there with dumbed down voters, and then they're going to build big.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Eric? Eric still here? Okay, it's gone. Nora Campos? Nora, no longer here. Okay. Donna?
Okay. Please, people, don't re-elect Herb Wesson, Mitch Englander, or Jose Huizar. Vote no on Proposition 1 and 2. You want to make it, if you want to know more about it, go to SaveOurCityElections.org. Don't follow your pamphlets. They're just for the city council only. It only give them, it only gave money to the city council, give them a bigger pension. It's for the politicians' problem. It's for the city council members, the mayor, city controller, the city attorney. It's a way to take away our voices like they took our voices in the San Fernando Valley by taking away our video conferencing. Next step, they will have a 6-year term instead of 4. They said that worked so good. It won't help people. It won't help minorities. It won't help women. It won't help the blacks in East L.A. The only thing, people, you've got to vote no on 1 and 2 because it will just be a way for the politicians to get bigger money and longer terms. That's all it's for.
Thank you, Donna. Miriam?
I got real sick today coming down 2 hours one way because you people make it impossible to come down here. SaveOurCityElections.org. You want to get a bigger pension through this 1 and 2. You can't vote for it. Please vote no. They want to increase their terms to 5.5 years for the next 4 years. And we can't let them do this. They shut down our video conferencing, and they don't have the money for that. So what's the excuse now? There is money. They got a lot of money. They got a pay raise. We need to take out Prop H. And I've been begging you for the last year and a half to stop this, to put on the video conferencing, Nuri, and you didn't do it. And I can see that you people, all you want is your fat pay raises and your pensions, and you want to take it from the C workers and make them compromise and make them have concessions, and that's not right. So remember the Tower of Babel. I'm against you.
Thank you. Brian Barajas.
Well, I think, the sentiments of the people is very clear. We are in a way, it is a type of resistance towards the fascism that some of our representatives have taken, whether they know it or not. The American people have a decision to make. Either we, the people, join with the policies of LaRouche against the dictatorship that has gripped this country, or we as a people die. I've been warning about this since, Linda LaRouche since the 70s, but for myself since a while. We are promoting Nazism in Ukraine, and we have to stop before we go to World War III.
Juan, final speaker, Juan. Juan. Final speaker card, Juan Acala.
I love Dana because she looks like Lady Gaga today. Lady Gaga with her big hair. All this stupid white entertainment in Hollywood, I'm tired of it. Did you see the Oscars? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. You won again? Oh, by the way, I was wrong. I said it was only white entertainment, and a Mexican got 3 Oscars. What the hell's going on? Are Mexicans getting accounted for, finally? Oh, by the way, this used to be Mexico, if you don't remember history. If you erase those files from your memory, this used to be Mexico, you a-holes. And we're coming to take it back, you a-holes. Okay? I don't want your horseshit in your horseshoe. I don't need all that.
Okay, that concludes general public comment. Excuse me, don't scream out from the audience. That's disrupting the meetings. So that concludes general public comment for all the cards that were submitted. So with that, sorry, now you're disrupting the meeting by standing there in the middle. You're disrupting the meeting, sir. You're disrupting the meeting. I'm going to ask you to please sit down or leave the council chambers. You're still disrupting the meeting. And please do not yell out from the audience as well. Be asked to leave council chambers if you're going to yell out and disrupt this meeting.
And just for the record, Mr. President, there's no card submitted by Mr. Herman for general public comment.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay, with that, colleagues, do we have any announcements? Seeing none, does the council have any motions for posting and referral?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll go ahead and post and refer those. Mr. Labange, did you have an announcement?
So one thing, tomorrow at 4 o'clock in the beauty of the Southern California sunset, will replant the George Harrison Memorial Tree, which is in near the Griffith Observatory. The public's invited at 4 o'clock, Griffith Observatory, on George's birthday.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Do we have any adjourning motions, colleagues? We do? If we can please have everybody please rise. Everybody in council chambers, if I can ask you to please rise for adjourning motions. I'm going to ask first Council Member Bernard Parks.
Adjourning motions. First, I'd ask we adjourn in memory of Police Officer 2 Crystal Horton, who passed away on Saturday, February the 14th in Los Angeles. Crystal was born in 1961 in Detroit, Michigan. She was appointed to the department in October of 1988, and she was last assigned to Wilshire area, and she's survived by her daughters Kelly, Kylie, and son Christopher, and her mother Gladys, and several other family members. Funeral service will be held Thursday, March the 5th at the First Church of God, 9550 Crenshaw Boulevard, Inglewood. In lieu of flowers, they asked for donations to the Blue Ribbon Trust account at the LA Police Federal Credit Union. Secondly, it asked that we adjourn in memory of Mildred Paris Massey, the mother of Congresswoman Barbara Lee. Her services will be held on Thursday, February 26th at the Allen Temple Baptist Church in Oakland, California. And the families asked that any, in lieu of flowers, that there be contributions to the American Lung Association in California in the Oakland chapter. And then finally, we have a adjourning motion for Liam McGee, longtime business person in the city of Los Angeles, passed away on February the 13th after a 2-year battle with cancer. He was the son of Irish immigrants, moved to California as a young person. His father started as a bus driver and later worked his way up into management of the Southern California Rapid Transit. McGee graduated from the University of San Diego in 1976 with a bachelor's degree in biology. There, he played for the school baseball team, wrote for the school newspaper, and was active in student government. McGee then went on to earn a master's degree at business at Pepperdine and a law degree at Loyola. After working his way through college as a bank teller, he became widely respected business leader. He spent more than 3 decades as a financial services executive, eventually serving as the president of consumer and small business for the Bank of America. Most recently, McGee led financial turnaround and strategic transformation of Hartford, nearly 205-year-old insurer. According to Fortune magazine, few turnarounds have been as remarkable as Hartford under Mr. McGee. He served as a member of the Business Roundtable, on the board of the Financial Services Roundtable, as well as Catalyst as global organizations that build inclusive workplaces and opportunities for women in business. He also served on the board of the University of San Diego. He was the chair of the United Way of Los Angeles, Junior Achievement of Southern California, and the University of San Diego Board of Trustees. In addition, he served 2 terms as the director of the Los Angeles branch of the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco. Late last year, he received a distinguished appointment as professor in residence at his alma mater in the University of San Diego in both their schools of law and business. He's survived by his wife, Lou, and his sons, Stephen and Jordan, and Adeline, and his daughter, Lauren. A service will be held on February 24th at St. Simeon and Jude Catholic Church in Huntington Beach, and following will be a private burial ceremony. In lieu of flowers, the families requested donation to the Liam McGee Memorial Fund supporting the Helen and Harry Gray Cancer Center in Hartford Hospital in Hartford, Connecticut. Many of you may remember Mr. McGee as a high-ranking official of Bank of America. In fact, when Bank of America took over Security Pacific National Bank, he was the one that distributed many of the outdated branches to nonprofits and also to the city of Los Angeles.
Great, thank you. Mr. LaBonge.
God bless both those souls, the officer and Mr. McGee. Members, I ask we adjourn to memory of Raul Rodriguez, who was one of the great designers of floats. He grew up in the Whittier area, Norwalk area. He had a high school contest that he won to design a float for their town. And many years later, he was the most award-winning float designer. He lived in the Wilshire district. He's survived by his husband and sisters, and he was a wonderful human being who always got great flair to the Rose Parade. I ask we remember Raul Rodriguez, who was a good friend of all of us. And ask also James Gillespie, who was a member of the California State Bar Association, appointed by then Governor Edmund Brown as a judge in the municipal courts, and in 1966 working his way up through the bench. He was also a very active and engaged man in Sherman Oaks after he retired from the bench. He loved all the things about life that one could love, and especially his wife Eva, daughters Carol, son-in-law Craig, grandson Daniela and Garrett, and his brother John. I ask we adjourn in memory of former Judge James D. Gillespie.
Great, thank you. Mr. Koretz.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to adjourn in memory of a good friend and someone who was one of the greatest women in Southern California politics, and I don't believe we adjourned in her memory when she died in January, Wallis Albertson. To many people best knew her as the widow of Jack Albertson, who was a highly regarded Tony and Oscar-winning actor. And they had been married for about 30 years when Jack passed away in 1981. Wally was the president of the then very powerful California Democratic Council from 1975 to 1981. She was one of the first members of the Stonewall Democratic Club. She was on the AIDS Healthcare Foundation board, which she chaired on the board from 1997 through 2009. Many of you will remember she served on the LA Community College Board for a number of years. Way back when, she was an activist in the Ban the Bomb and civil rights movements, an anti-war supporter of Eugene McCarthy in 1968, and a McGovern delegate in 1972. She always said that she was galvanized and not intimidated by sexism when it came to activism and assuming roles of leadership, which she did at a number of levels. She was also a spiritualist minister, and she would conduct both political fundraisers and seances, although probably not at the same time, in the back of the Albertsons' unpretentious West Hollywood bungalow. She was born in Pittsburgh, was a debating champion in high school and at the University of Pittsburgh, went to journalism school in Columbia, researched a talk show hosted by Mike Wallace, and scripted dramas for NBC. And Jack Albertson was an actor in one of the shows that she scripted. They hit it off immediately and married, with comedian Phil Silvers as their best man and a singing dog as their choir. With her mother, she opened a store selling imported Mexican artifacts, but at one point Jack had a huge hit co-starring, where he was one of the key co-stars on the TV show Chico and the Man, which many of you will remember. Their family fortunes changed, and he became much more financially successful, but they drove the same old cars and always lived in the same modest house. And I always get a smile when I see Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which was probably Jack's most notable role, where he played the grandfather in that movie. The late Al Martinez devoted an LA Times column to her, highlighting her courage. And not that long after Jack passed away, Wally was among the 350,000 victims, mostly senior citizens, who were financially devastated by the collapse of Executive Life, a junk bond-laden insurance company. She helped organize a group called the Action Network for Victims of Executive Life, and after many, many meetings, a settlement was reached. Only it had a gag order mandating that people would be paid more if they kept quiet about what happened. Wally Albertson was the lone voice saying that freedom of speech should not be bought, and so she campaigned against that provision. Wally was a friend and an inspiration to many of us, and she'll be much missed, as is Jack Albertson, and they are survived by one daughter, Maura Albertson.
Great. Thank you. I'm going to the other side now. Mr. West.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. Today, I request that we adjourn in the memory of Barbara Solomon Goldstein, who is the mother-in-law of our own Anna Guerrero, the Chief of Staff to Mayor Garcetti. Barbara was 86 years old. She lived in Woodland Hills, and she died after a short and unexpected illness on February 23rd. She worked for over 20 years as a social worker for the Jewish Family and Children's Service Center of Los Angeles. She retired in March 2012, but she still continued to volunteer at one of the community food banks and resource centers. She was born March 27, 1928, in Providence, Rhode Island, and she was married to the late Abraham Goldstein, and they were married for 34 years. They say the two of them shared a love for politics, and she enjoyed supporting him on his numerous campaigns. They raised 6 children together who were born in Cranston, Rhode Island. She is survived by 5 children and 10 grandchildren. May she rest in peace. Barbara Solomon Goldstein, and to Anna and our family. We all were close with Anna. She worked with a lot of Mr. Englander when Chief of Staff, Mr. Bonin. We saw her grow, working this horseshoe to become the phenomenal deputy mayor or deputy the Chief of Staff that she is today. So we want to let her family know that our hearts and our prayers are with Anna, and we ask that they reflect on Miss Goldstein's life and remember the good times. With that said, I thank you, Mr. President.
Great. Thank you very much. And our hearts and prayers go out to all the families that we've adjourned for here today. We are officially adjourned. Be safe.